In the driveway, a process server jams a protective petition into my hand. Behind the door, Christmas lights blaze over the table that erased my seat, starred overflow to perfect the in-laws picture. They call it tradition and safety. I see a planted article and a fake order, and I understand the game. I stack receipts into evidence, return the key, cue time-stamped footage. My vow is short and cold. Support follows presence. Absence ends the money. When family rewrites your life in print and in court, do you bow or take it back? I am Martin Hale, 63, retired supply sergeant. Steady hands, steady habits. The calendar on my fridge shows December boxed in red marker. I count days the way I counted rations on deployment. The turkey brine sits cold in a dented stockpot. My timer clicks softly like a patient metronome. I lay out foil pans, twine, and a meat thermometer. The checklist reads simple tasks with exact times. I keep my brass keyring on the counter for luck. It carries the house, the truck, and the workshop padlock. I rub oil into the cutting board and set blades straight. The routine keeps my breath even and shoulders square. Afternoon light slides across the sink and the old tile. I wipe the counter twice and calibrate the oven again. The phone buzzes with a family group text. Sloan posts a seating mock-up with tidy circles around names. Her circles never include me near the head table. She writes that her parents will fly in Sunday evening. She notes limited chairs and a strict plating schedule. She adds a photo of ribbon place cards on porcelain. My chest tightens as I count 13 names without mine. I type a line offering the turkey and the gravy. I add a note about arriving early to help. No one responds for 11 quiet minutes on the clock. The silence builds like a thin film over water. I rinse my hands and fold the towels by color. The phone finally vibrates with a new thread. Evan sends a private message about shifting plans this year. He mentions competing traditions and tight timing for arrivals. He suggests we do something later, maybe the weekend after. He writes that it is probably easier for everyone. He adds a thumbs-up emoji that lands like a stamp. My shoulders shrink inward before I force them back square. I steady my fingers on the counter's cool edge. The brass key ring taps twice against the ceramic bowl. I straighten the timer and set another reminder anyway. I have cooked for lean seasons and long winters. I kept meals moving when trucks arrived late overseas. The discipline stays in my bones like a second language. I load the truck with pantry donations for the church. The boxes fit tight along the tailgate, like cargo. I drive across town on side streets I know. The sky hangs pale and brittle over trimmed lawns. At a stoplight, I count breaths until green. I deliver canned beans and flour to the back hallway. Volunteers wave with tired kindness and a clipboard check. I accept the thanks and keep my pace calm. On the way home, I pass Evan's neighborhood. The cul-de-sac looks like every year on a postcard. Lights trace rooflines and wreaths claim front doors. I slow near his driveway without fully stopping. Sloan's new SUV sits polished under the bare maple. I park 2 blocks away and carry a wrapped mixer. I repaired its loose belt last month in my workshop. The doorbell camera blinks a blue eyelid as I approach. Sloan's phone chimes inside with a cheerful note. She opens halfway and holds the frame like a barrier. She says the kitchen is full and timing is sensitive. She says her mother brings a signature roast this year. She says every dish already occupies a slot and station. She offers a gracious smile that never reaches her eyes. I feel my voice thin, then flatten to neutral. I place the mixer on the mat and step back. I say I can return at dawn to prep. She says a cleaner arrives early and needs clear floors. She adds that deliveries will crowd the front hall tomorrow. She thanks me kindly for understanding the workflow. I nod once and look toward the hallway mirror. 2 paper wreaths hang beside a narrow family photo. I recognize the frame from a sale at Whitman's Hardware. I paid for it last spring with a joint receipt. My stomach turns as memory tugs lines across months. I inventory more items I quietly funded without notice. I keep my face calm and count corners on the mat. Evan steps into view with his tie still loose. He moves like a man bracing for weather. He says the week already feels tight and delicate. He asks me to text before dropping anything next time. He pretends to check the doorbell feed for packages. He thanks me for the repair and the thoughtful timing. He places the mixer inside without meeting my eyes. Sloane nods toward the driveway like a traffic officer. She says her mother worries about thresholds and drafts. She mentions vulnerable sinuses and a strict temperature range. My breath shortens, then evens with practice and pride. I pull the door gently shut with the pat of my thumb. The latch answers with a soft click that stings. I walk to the truck and mark a list. The list includes the turkey, the gravy, and dessert. The list includes arrival time, parking, and dish pickup. The list includes contingency items for last-minute gaps. I underline the word welcome with slow pressure. The pen leaves a trench in the paper fibers. I drive to the market for stock bones and celery. I fold receipts into a long envelope labeled holiday. The envelope already holds months of tiny expenses. I keep receipts because counting is cleaner than guessing. I fund with receipts. I expect a seat at the table. I replay the seating chart while checking the freezer. Her circles were neat and deliberate around absence. Respect hides behind polite words and stationary fonts. The timer on my phone calls me back home. I unpack groceries and stack containers by volume. I set stock to simmer and clean the stovetop. Steam fogs the window and blurs the backyard fence. I polish the carving fork until the steel shines. I practice the motion for slicing steady and thin. I bag trash with a tight soldier's corner fold. The sun drops fast and leaves the counters colder. I take the mail from the slot near dusk. A glossy card shows Sloane's parents smiling at a gala. The envelope bears a printed address with gold ink. Inside, I find a general invite to a fundraiser. The fine print lists a donation tier for attendees. I set it aside and file the rest by category. The sink drains slow and makes a hollow sound. I unclog it with a wire and a rag. The clock on the stove hits 7 on the dot. My chest feels heavy, but my hands stay calm. I open the group thread and reread today's posts. A new message pins the final schedule at the top. The header says Family Christmas Plan with exclamation marks. The bullet points name tasks and confirm arrivals. A photo shows 12 place cards arrayed like medals. None bear my name, despite earlier offers and checklists. I scroll to the end and find a thank you. The thank you praises helpers for flexibility and grace. The final line reads, "Weekend plans pending," with broad optimism. My breath catches, then settles with practiced restraint. I wash the stock pot and set it upside down. Water beads along the rim like a ring. I dry my hands and take out the ledger. The ledger shows small transfers across 5 full years. It shows paint cans, rugs, and a sofa delivery. It shows groceries and bills when Evan lost work. It shows fees for a new water heater last May. I let numbers anchor me when words turn slippery. The brass keyring rests under my palm for weight. I slide it into my pocket and lock the door. The night air bites, clean and unsentimental. I drive to a diner for black coffee and eggs. The booth's vinyl creaks like an old saddle under me. I eat slow and map choices in simple rows. Goal 1 is inclusion with honest terms and presence. Obstacle is polite evasion masked as logistics and tradition. Outcome today is silence and a smiling redirection. Turn arrives when the chart fixes the guest list. I pay cash and tip well because dignity moves both ways. Outside, the parking lot glitters with frost near the lamplight. I sit in the truck and count 8 steady breaths. The radio mutters sports scores without emotion or heat. I turn it off and listen to engine ticking softer. I drive past the cul-de-sac once more before home. A folding table leans against Evan's garage door. Extra chairs stand ready like soldiers awaiting deployment. I imagine the head table filling with careful conversation. I picture an overflow corner by the kitchen doorway. I picture myself there, or not there, at all. The pictures fall away and leave one clear line. I will not chase invitations across text threads. I will not beg space between ribboned place cards. I will not barter my presence for polite optics. I unlock my door and hang my coat by habit. The house smells like bay leaf and onion skin. I rinse the mug and set it upside down. The brine waits patient in the cold refrigerator. I recap the day in my small green notebook. Notes help me think straighter when feelings run hot. I write that I offered and was redirected twice. I write that the final plan excluded me by omission. I write that my body felt smaller in their doorway. I keep the pen steady until the page turns neat. The room grows quieter as the heater cycles off. I place the green notebook under the timer on purpose. The brass key ring returns to the ceramic bowl. The sound is bright and controlled in the still kitchen. I breathe in for 4 and out for 6. I stand at the window and watch my breath fade. A neighbor strings lights across a second-story gutter. His ladder shakes once, then steadies on the siding. I remember field tents bending, then holding through wind. I remember teaching younger soldiers to tie lines twice. The habit of double-checking saved gear and sometimes tempers. I check tomorrow's list and trim 3 unneeded tasks. I underline sleep by 10 with squared corners on ink. I turn off the main light and leave one lamp. The lamp throws a small circle across the table. In that circle I see order and a path. The exclusion stands confirmed by their own schedule. The house feels 2 inches smaller than last December. A decision forms without speech and without ceremony. I do not say it out loud tonight. I let it gather like snow above a ridge. I will act after dawn, when the clock agrees. Part 2. I wake before dawn, and dress by habit. The house holds its breath while the heater hums. I line up the day like blocks on a shelf. The goal is fair inclusion with clear terms. I write the goal in the green notebook. My neck flushes as I recall yesterday's thread. My breath shortens, then steadies through a practiced count. Fingers stay steady, because routine does its work. I brew coffee and label a brown envelope contributions. I slide last month's receipts inside by date. I add a sticky note with totals in pencil. I text a simple check-in about arrival windows. I offer prep at 7 and cleanup after dessert. I request a seat, not a favor or exception. The phone shows delivered and then nothing for minutes. I rinse the mug and pack salt, pepper, and foil. The cart by the door holds roasting racks and liners. I stack them neatly because order calms shame. The phone taps once with a new update. A graphic shows a revised schedule and stations. The bullets assign tasks with corporate phrasing and arrows. The seating diagram returns with circles like targets. A caption mentions overflow near the kitchen doorway. My name appears at the margin with a star. The star looks cheerful, but sits outside the circle. My jaw locks gently as I study the chart. I send a second message asking for clarity. I keep the tone respectful and brief on purpose. A reply arrives with a brisk note on space. It cites capacity, traffic flow, and fragile centerpieces. It mentions that plating will require silence and speed. It thanks everyone for flexibility during a special visit. I place the phone face down on the counter. I write the outcome in the notebook without adjectives. I underline capacity because language hides choices cleanly. I visit the print shop for new place cards. The clerk feeds cardstock into a humming machine. I pay cash and take a simple marker. I write my name with steady strokes on one card. The ink looks level against the ivory grain. I hold it at eye level for balance. I drive to Evan's block with quiet tires. The sun burns off frost along the fences. Delivery vans crowd the curb near his driveway. A rental sedan idles while 2 people unload hampers. I recognize Sloane's mother by the coat and posture. She points toward the doorway with a practiced gesture. I stop at the cul-de-sac and park cleanly. I step out holding the single place card. I aim to hand it to the person in charge. The doorbell camera winks with its little blue light. The door opens just enough for a polite barrier. A hand appears with a clipboard and a schedule. The hand moves briskly across lines and times. The voice behind the door lists rules and constraints. Reported summary says no additions after 9 this morning. Reported note says overflow will stand near the kitchen. Reported assurance says everything will be handled with care. I nod once and return the place card to my pocket. I walk back to the truck and write another note. I mark the attempt as fair and documented. I label the obstacle as rules and optics combined. I label the outcome as refusal disguised as procedure. I label the turn as boundary tension rising fast. My breath tightens, then finds its rhythm again. I drive to the market for last supplies. The cart holds onions, butter, and aluminum pans. I keep receipts folded edge to edge as usual. The parking lot carries a restless pre-holiday buzz. I step aside twice for rushing shoppers with carts. I move at a steady pace like a metronome. Back home, I sort pantry items by function. Dry goods stack behind wet goods for flow. I tape small labels to lids for helpers. I keep preparing as if inclusion still stands. The ledger opens on the table with quiet authority. I record earlier transfers with dates and amounts. I list paint, a sofa, and a water heater. I list a moving truck fee from last spring. I stop writing and massage the bridge of my nose. The shame hardens into a cleaner resentment. I name the feeling so it cannot drift. I eat a peanut butter sandwich without distraction or fuss. I refill the coffee and tighten the jar lid. I call the church office to confirm donation pickup. The coordinator thanks me and confirms Saturday morning. I note the call time exactly as given. I tidy the hallway and check the porch light. The bulb flickers, then holds through 2 full minutes. I return to the table and study the schedule. I sketch a simple map showing chairs and lanes. I place myself within the flow near the stove. The map looks workable if anyone wanted that. I fold the paper and slide it under the ledger. My phone vibrates with a new family blast. The message announces a final rehearsal for plating. It requests silence, speed, and light footsteps near porcelain. It praises the team for adaptability and grace. It invites comments by 5, then locks the plan. I set a timer and choose to respond once. I state availability from prep through cleanup without breaks. I state willingness to follow the exact posted plan. I state need for 1 seat inside the circle. I send it, and silence rolls back again. I watch the seconds glide across the stove clock. 5 passes without a receipt for my words. I adjust the apron ties and test the knife edge. I sweep the floor and empty the trash neatly. I carry the bag to the bin behind the fence. The air smells like cold metal and pine sap. A neighbor waves from his yard with string lights. I raise a hand and hold a plain smile. My neck still feels hot against the collar. The heat fades as the sun dips behind roofs. I return inside and wash my hands thoroughly. I fold 3 towels into tight rectangles for service. The timer chirps and I check the thread again. A new pinned post declares the plan complete. The seating chart remains unchanged with crisp lines. The overflow star sits where it sat before. The note thanks contributors and reminds everyone of civility. It adds that parking is limited for late arrivals. It emphasizes that the front room should remain photogenic. I read the words twice, then file the phone. I sit with the ledger and add another line. Today's entry reads offered, redirected, and sidelined again. I breathe until the shame slides into something steadier. I open my wallet and count small bills by tens. I place the bills inside the contributions envelope carefully. I prepare for any last-minute costs without asking. The notebook fills with times, tests, and outcomes. I track boundaries in writing because memory blurs under pressure. The house grows quiet except for the fridge motor. I step outside and feel night settle on my shoulders. Streetlights pool amber on cracked asphalt near the curb. A stray leaf skims along like a slow fish. I pat my coat for the truck fob by habit. I stop moving and let stillness do its work. The decision forms without words or flourish. I will not let this slide 1 more inch. I will act within my rights and with proof. I will document every action and every consequence. I will require terms that honor presence, not optics. I lock the door and kill the kitchen light. The darkness sharpens edges and simplifies choices. The quiet decision sits solid as a loaded pallet. Part 3. I wake with a heavy heart and a clear list. Exhaustion hangs low, but focus returns like a lens. The goal is control over my contributions and access. I replace appeals with conditions and record non-negotiables cleanly. I dress, eat, and drive to the bank. The lobby smells like carpet and winter coats. A teller directs me to a desk for transfers. I state my request in plain terms and dates. The clerk types quietly while I watch the screen. The screen shows an automatic pull set mid-month. I pause the transfer effective today without apology or flourish. I request written confirmation, mailed and printed immediately. The printer ticks and pushes out 2 forms. I sign the form with a calm hand. I keep 1 copy and pocket the other. My breath deepens as numbers stop bleeding out. I walk to the parking lot and face east. The cold air clears fog from the morning. I call the utility companies from the truck. I ask to remove my card from linked accounts. I request any balances owed through last cycle only. Representatives confirm changes with reference numbers and timestamps. I write each down on a clean index card. I drive to a copy center near the highway. I scan 5 years of receipts into ordered folders. I label binders with spine tags and bright dates. I create a simple one-page summary by category. I add totals and footnotes for clarity under stress. I place the binders into a plain canvas bag. I stop for lunch at a small counter downtown. I eat a bowl of chili and drink water. I breathe until bitterness drains into vigilant calm. I return home and clear the kitchen table. I lay out proof in neat grids by year. The pattern tells a story without a single adjective. I draft terms on a single page for reference. The terms are simple and respectful on purpose. Presence requires a seat inside the defined circle. Access requires direct communication without gatekeeping or delay. Support requires transparency and shared planning before spending. I finish the page and sign it quietly. I set aside spare keys on the table. One key belongs to their front door only. I place it alone on a small square card. The rest of my keys remain on my ring. Afternoon brings a call from a familiar number. I let it roll to voicemail without reaction. A text follows with a request for pickup help. It mentions luggage and timing near the airport arrival. It assumes my schedule bends around others again. I log the request and mark it pending response. I will answer after my own errands end. I fix the porch light with a fresh bulb. The new filament holds through 3 full minutes. I tighten the screws and test the switch twice. The small wind steadies my hands and breathing. I tidy the entryway and sweep grit toward the dustpan. The house feels cleaner when I protect small terrain. I check the calendar and circle the afternoon slot. The driveway will hold the day's midpoint action. I place the canvas bag behind the truck seat. I add the index cards and the spare key. I add a small clipboard and a fresh pen. I drink water and stand at the window. The street shows kids on scooters in wool hats. Their laughter flares, then fades behind parked cars. I look at the turkey brine and close the fridge. I leave early because being early is respectful. I park at the corner near Evan's mailbox. The sun hovers low and sharp over the roofs. I carry the bag up the sidewalk with even steps. The driveway holds a rental sedan and stacked hampers. A caterer unloads trays with quick, efficient motions. I wait for a clear path, and then step forward. The goal is a boundary delivered calmly and cleanly. The obstacle is etiquette, and the pressure of eyes. Evan opens the garage door with a wary glance. He greets me quickly and asks about timing. Reported tone carries hurry and a hint of apology. I ask him to step into the driveway space. I keep the words brief and factual by design. I hand him the one-page terms without theatrics. He scans it while the caterer rolls a cart. I place the canvas bag on the cool concrete. I lift the top binder and set it level. The cover shows 5 neat years in bold print. He flips through months while his mouth tightens. He recognizes numbers on utilities and large purchases. He takes a breath and rubs his forehead. He says he did not realize the total load. He says later we can discuss logistics and adjustments. I record the reported words as background noise internally. The driveway holds our small negotiation like a stage. The caterer pushes past and points toward the entry. A clipboard notes where trays must go and when. Sloane appears at the door with a fixed smile. She gestures toward the schedule pinned beside the frame. Her eyes ask for speed and silence around guests. She starts to turn back toward the warm hallway. I lift the small square card with the single key. I hold it where light can touch its edges. Midpoint lands with a quiet click inside my chest. I remove the front door key from my brass ring. The brass ring rests heavy in my palm for a beat. I slide my own keys back into my pocket. I place their key alone on the small card. I state in reported form that access now has conditions. I state in reported form that support follows presence. I state in reported form that absence cancels extras immediately. I keep my voice low so it carries force, not volume. The power balance shifts without a single raised word. Sloane halts and studies the binder spines by year. She notices categories for mortgage help and maintenance. She notices annotated receipts for decor and furniture. She asks, in reported form, if I will reconsider. She mentions a delicate seating plan and sensitive guests. She suggests we handle this after the holiday event. I answer with a calm line about timing and respect. I note that changes begin today, not after optics. I note that planning requires shared terms in advance. I note that my presence will not be staged in overflow. Evan looks at the driveway concrete instead of my eyes. His shoulders slope then square as the math lands. He nods once without reaching for the key. The caterer asks about table height and available outlets. The clipboard sets a tempo that suits Sloane's posture. I gather my bag and stack the binders inside. I leave the summary page with clear totals on top. I take a photo of the key resting on the card. Documentation matters when emotions rewrite facts later. I log the time, place, and witnesses on an index card. I keep my steps measured while walking toward the sidewalk. A neighbor across the street watches with a quiet face. The air smells like rosemary and exhaust from the sedan. My phone buzzes with 3 rapid notifications. A new thread forms between Sloane and her parents. Reported lines mention disruptions and inappropriate timing. Reported promise mentions handling matters after honored guests depart. I do not answer because silence holds more weight now. I drive to the hardware store for a small lock. I buy a steel hasp for my workshop door. I install it with careful, exact strikes of a hammer. The rhythm echoes through wood and old nails. I move 3 boxes of family documents inside. I reclaim the workshop bench for my own projects. I label shelves with painter's tape and block letters. Evening settles as I put tools back on hooks. I heat soup and slice bread at the counter. I eat standing because stillness feels right tonight. The house rests easier with money no longer bleeding. I file the bank forms in a clear plastic sleeve. I check the porch light again from the sidewalk. It glows steady across the small patch of lawn. My phone buzzes with a new number unknown. The voicemail describes social consequences in vague language. The message hints at reputations and circles in this town. It suggests that uncooperative behavior invites predictable outcomes. I play it once, then write a neutral summary line. I recognize the cadence of a father protecting optics. The pushback arrives right on schedule like winter. I assemble a small packet labeled Terms and Proof. I tuck a copy of the summary and 2 receipts inside. I place the packet near the front door for morning. I write a final note in the green notebook. The entry reads, transfers paused and terms delivered kindly. It reads, key returned with photo and witnesses present. It reads, workshop secured and porch light repaired. The win feels measured and costly at once. I expect a harder push within 48 hours. I close the notebook and set it under the timer. I check locks and stack shoes by the mat. I turn off the lamp and leave one hallway light. The house breathes with me as night moves in. The driveway scene replays like a drill in my head. The balance changed without spectacle or a shout. The phone lies silent, but the city does not. Somewhere, a counter-plan gathers itself behind closed doors. Morning arrives clean and glassy, and my hands feel steady again. The house holds quiet, like a well-kept range. I accept what is mine to control and trim the rest. Coffee drips slow while the thermostat hums in rhythm. I list essentials and cut everything ornamental without guilt. Insurance, utilities, bank alerts, and locks sit at the top. I disable auto-payments beyond my own address and name. Reference numbers line up straight across a fresh card. The pen glides, and the tremor finally fades. My voice reads each item once for accuracy. I forward receipts to a vault folder with timestamps. Passwords rotate to unique strings noted on paper backups. The freezer inventory shrinks to what I will actually cook. Excess trays return to the pantry for donation later. Shame no longer drives these choices. Dignity does. I wear an old field jacket because the morning bites. Training taught me to move calmly under pressure. That lesson still serves when family storms roll through. A text volley vibrates against the counter in bursts. The words accuse, then flatter, then threaten reputational weather. I let every message pass into the log without reply. Silence blocks spectacle better than argument ever could. A neighbor ping arrives about traffic on our block. Delivery vans crowd the curb near midday rehearsals again. I mark the time and keep my pace. The workshop door sits newly locked with a clean hasp. Tools hang straight above the bench like quiet witnesses. I lay yesterday's binders along the back edge. The canvas bag now holds only the terms packet. I breathe in sawdust and old oil without memories flaring. Solitude lands soft, not hard, across my shoulders. Lunch is simple bread, peanut butter, and an apple. I eat standing and rinse the plate to clear mind. The goal this afternoon is securing paperwork and notarizations. The obstacle will be lines, forms, and clipped patience. Outcome must be signatures that speak when voices distort. The turn will arrive where the city keeps its records. I drive downtown and find a metered spot on 3rd. Wind cuts between buildings and sharpens my focus. Inside, the city office corridor smells like floor polish. Fluorescents buzz faintly above a row of gray chairs. A placard lists recording, notary, and public safety windows. People hold folders like small shields against bureaucracy. I take a number and steady my feet shoulder width. The ticket spits out C-147 in black ink. A security guard nods without asking me anything extra. My breathing settles into an easy 4-count cycle. I review the packet one last quiet time. The summary page leads with totals and dates. Supporting receipts stack in chronological order with bookmarks. Photocopies of yesterday's keycard photo sit centered. The line moves in small clutches past metal stanchions. A clerk waves me forward with 2 fingers only. I request notarization for the summary affidavit. The clerk glances at the binder spines and whistles inside. Reported note says lots of support for one address. I answer with a single nod and a steady tone. The stamp lands crisp beside my signature and date. I slide the affidavit into a clear sleeve for protection. Next, the records window opens with a tired smile. I file a trespass advisory for my address and porch. The form allows named individuals and contingent guests. I list names precisely and mark limited hours for delivery. The clerks confirm service standards and how police will respond. Reference numbers print on a narrow receipt in blue. I ask for notarized copies for my binder as well. The clerk stamps and slides the pages back efficiently. She asks if anything else needs recording today. I pause long enough to scan my list. The next goal is a notarized statement on withdrawn support. I include dates, categories, and links to receipts. The stamp lands again with that grounding clack. My hands remain open on the counter's edge. I thank her and step aside for space. The corridor carries echoes of names and numbers. A man in a navy blazer approaches with a folder. His badge identifies him as a process server. He asks my name and confirms it with a glance. I nod because hiding solves nothing today. He hands me a packet with a rubber band. The heading reads, Petition for Protective Order, in bold. My jaw stays loose even as my heart thumps. I sign his acknowledgement and accept 2 copies. He leaves without flair while the corridor keeps buzzing. I step to a bench and open the packet. The petition alleges harassment and disruptive conduct on the driveway. It cites an incident time from yesterday afternoon. It references vulnerable guests, fragile decor, and household stress. It claims raised voice and threatening posture without details. It references a history of interference through financial leverage. It requests distance and no contact until a hearing date. My breath catches once, then slides into a calmer lane. The accusation stings because silence now cuts deeper than shouting. I note the timestamp and the listed witnesses carefully. The caterer appears on the list with 2 others. The hearing sits scheduled for early next week. I photograph each page for the case log. Evidence will matter when emotions start repainting facts. My hands do not shake as I organize the packet. I add a sticky flag where the allegations contradict timelines. The court clerk confirms the file exists across the hall. I take a number again and stand straighter. The clerk prints the calendar notice and instructions. Reported guidance covers filings, exhibits, and decorum. I thank her and step back into the corridor flow. The moment sits heavy because this is the hard blow. The hallway stretches longer than when I arrived. I lean against the wall until my breath evens. Acceptance returns as a steady, useful weight. Losses get named and placed where they belong. I will not feed the rumor mill with panic. I will prepare with proof and measured steps only. Outside, the wind bites and clears the fluorescent haze. I walk 2 blocks and circle back to the truck. The cab smells like winter sun on old vinyl. I log the service event with time and location. A plan forms with clean edges and numbered steps. First, I will secure copies from neutral sources. Second, I will gather independent witnesses and clean affidavits. Third, I will lock my routines like a disciplined schedule. The Veterans Clinic can advise on hearing conduct. I call and leave a concise message after the tone. The line promises a callback within 1 business day. That is enough for this afternoon's progress. I head to a shipping store for additional notarizations. The clerk stamps signatures without commentary or fuss. A second packet gets sealed for redundancy. I mail it to myself for chain of custody proof. The receipt slides into a new sleeve, marked mail. Back home, the house greets me with plain quiet. I hang the jacket and wash my hands slowly. Soap squeaks against skin until the mind follows. Dinner is a skillet of eggs and greens. The fork scrapes gently across an old plate. I eat at the counter and face the window. Streetlights glow over a thin skim of frost. The phone lights with a cluster of fresh posts. A family blast declares a restored plan without disruptions. Reported lines frame my driveway visit as inappropriate timing. I log the text and do not answer tonight. A social tag floats past on a neighbor feed. The caption praises elegance and grateful hearts this season. Photos show glassware and lighting checked for reflection. My face is absent, and that absence finally feels clean. I record the absence as a choice, not a wound. The heater cycles and quiets like a sleeping dog. I stack tomorrow's exhibits near the door on purpose. The workshop bench holds the rest under labeled clips. I sweep and return the dustpan to its hook. Self-respect returns in small, ordinary motions. I practice my route to the courthouse once. The truck's lights cut a path to Maple and 5th. I mark parking options in my head by corner. Back home, I dial the caterer's business line. A receptionist answers and logs a message for the manager. Reported note says requests for statements go through email. I send a concise question about yesterday's timed arrival. Neutral sources matter more than friendly ones now. The inbox pings with a response from the city clerk. Certified copies will be ready tomorrow by noon. I confirm pickup and thank her for accurate directions. The late evening brings a new kind of silence. It does not accuse or soothe. It waits. I stand in the hallway until my shoulders settle. The mirror shows a face no longer flinching. My voice, when tested, sounds even and low. I place the protective order packet beside the binders. Labels face outward for fast retrieval under stress. I draft a short hearing outline with 3 sections: facts first, documents next, and terms last. The outline fits on a single card with margins. I slide it into the front sleeve of the binder. A calendar alert reminds me to sleep by 10. Rest is part of preparation, not a luxury now. I lock doors and set the alarm with firm clicks. The porch light glows steady across the walkway stones. I stand on the step and listen for the city. A car passes, then a bus sighs at the corner. The sky hangs dark and uncomplicated above rooftops. A message arrives from an unknown local number. Reported offer says a camera recorded yesterday's driveway exchange. The neighbor across from Evan kept a motion alert. He can share footage with timestamps if requested. I read the words twice and feel my chest loosen. Evidence without ties beats any testimony from family. I reply with thanks and a request for tomorrow morning. The plan adjusts by an inch toward better footing. I move inside and turn off the kitchen lamp. The house breathes with me in one calm rhythm. Today brought the heaviest hit without theatrics or noise. I did not shatter, and I do not perform. The packet waits, and the hearing clock has started. A faint lever now exists outside my family's story. It is small, simple, and pointed toward the truth. I wake before sunrise with lungs clear and shoulders squared. Today requires courage, proof, and a steady pace. I eat eggs, drink water, and review the outline. The goal is simple and specific and lawful. Clear my name and set enforceable boundaries with evidence. The packet waits on the table like a tool. I add certified copies and the notarized affidavit. I add the neighbor's email with the video link. I add timestamps beside the driveway entries. I place everything in order and check the binder. The brass clasp clicks shut with a satisfying bite. I drive the practiced route to Maple and Fifth. Traffic moves slow under a pale winter sky. I park 2 blocks away and walk deliberately. The courthouse steps feel familiar to disciplined legs. A deputy checks my ID and waves me through. Fluorescents hum, and the hallway smells like paper. People hold folders like shields against confusion or fear. I stand by the directory and steady my breathing. The elevator opens and I ride to the second. I sit outside courtroom 3 with the binder. The judge's clerk posts the morning docket by clip. My case number sits 4th beneath 2 short hearings. I watch second hands notch along a round clock. Adrenaline rises, then settles into a useful current. I review exhibits by touch instead of sight. The pages whisper as they slide across plastic. I rehearse the sequence that anchors my voice. Facts first, documents next, and terms last. Evan arrives in a dark suit with Sloane. Her parents trail behind with polished expressions. A man I do not know joins their cluster. His briefcase and posture read counsel without effort. Their eyes skim past me like skaters on glass. I keep my gaze level and my hands open. The clerk calls our case, and we stand together. We move to tables separated by a low rail. The judge enters, and the room lifts as one. The oath and instructions land with dry efficiency. The petitioner's counsel begins with a calm rhythm. Reported claim states disruptive conduct and an aggressive approach. Reported claim cites vulnerable guests and fragile decor inside. Reported claim suggests leverage through financial pressure and timing. He points to a printed schedule as context. He offers a stack of statements about household stress. He requests a no-contact order until a later date. He rests and sits with a measured confidence. I stand when the judge signals my turn. My breath deepens and finds an even cadence. I state my objective with quiet clarity and restraint. Clear the allegations and protect my right to peace. I present Exhibit A, the notarized driveway affidavit. I present Exhibit B, certified receipts and totals. I present Exhibit C, the key photograph with time. I present Exhibit D, the neighbor's footage with stamps. The monitor wakes and shows the driveway scene. The camera angle captures me, standing with a binder. My posture remains neutral beside the stacked hampers. The audio carries traffic noise and a faint door chime. The time code matches the petition's alleged incident. The clerk slows playback and notes each minute. The footage shows no raised voice or threatening posture. The footage shows a single page exchanged for review. The footage shows a key placed on a card. The judge leans forward as the sequence continues. The caterer crosses frame with a rolling cart. A clipboard appears with a route marked in blue. The binder returns to the bag with careful hands. I turn away and walk down the sidewalk. The car door opens and closes with normal force. The screen freezes on the minute of departure. The judge asks one procedural question about authentication. The neighbor's affidavit covers chain of custody clearly. The court accepts the exhibit for limited purposes. My chest opens as pressure releases a notch. I move to the financial exhibits without delay. I show a 1-page summary with clean columns. I show dated transfers and canceled checks by category. I show utility receipts with account numbers redacted. I show a ledger that spans 5 consistent years. I state that support followed presence until last week. I state that transfers stopped after repeated exclusion. I state that help requires participation, not invisibility, going forward. The judge asks whether any threats were issued elsewhere. I answer no and point to the call logs. The logs show unanswered requests and scheduling messages only. The judge turns to the opposing table for response. The caterer is called and sworn for testimony. Reported statement confirms a quiet exchange in the driveway. Reported statement confirms trays took priority over conversation. Reported statement confirms no argument and no chaos. The court notes credibility and neutral employment status. A guest is called and hesitates on details. Reported memory includes stress and a vague impression of tension. Reported memory fails on timing and distance from the door. The judge thanks the witness and returns to counsel. Silence fills the courtroom, like carefully folded cloth. The law now weighs conduct, not personality or tradition. The judge rules with a calm, specific cadence. The petition is denied for lack of supporting facts. The record reflects orderly behavior in the driveway. The court cautions all parties about manufactured emergencies. The court reminds counsel to avoid weaponizing family disputes. The court enters a narrow civil stay for both sides. No uninvited visits and no third-party pressure campaigns. Communication will route through direct text or email only. Deliveries require consent or a porch drop between hours. I nod once and accept the narrow guardrails. Evan nods once without looking toward his parents. Sloane stares at the table and tightens her grip. The judge dismisses the case and thanks the witnesses. The gavel lands with a soft but final tap. My pulse slows as the room exhales together. The deputy opens a side door for a clean exit. I pack the binder and secure the zipper. I step into the hallway and let air move. The fluorescent murmur fades beneath a stronger quiet. I feel weight lift from the base of my neck. Righteous anger cools into balanced relief and focus. I walk to the clerk's window for the order. Certified copies slide under glass with crisp edges. I pay the fee and file one into the binder. I text a short summary to the case log. Reported line states petition denied and guardrails imposed. Reported line lists exhibits accepted and times recorded. I leave the building without slowing for the lobby. Outside, winter sunlight spreads like polished steel. I cross the street and breathe 5 deep counts. The plan continues because truth needs distribution, not echo. I drive to a print shop near the river. I order 12 packets labeled Terms and Proof. I add the court order on top with highlights. I add the 1-page summary with clear totals. I add a short cover note with respectful language. No scorn, no barbs, and no theatrical flourishes. I staple each set and stack them by 2s. I place the packets into a plain paper bag. I pay cash because simplicity reduces chatter later. I stop at a coffee stand for black coffee. The cup warms my hands and centers my pacing. I drive toward Evans' block without changing routes. Traffic thins near the cul-de-sac and bare trees. I park on the opposite corner, respecting posted signs. The neighborhood feels quieter than yesterday's rehearsal. A delivery van idles 2 doors down with hazards. I carry the packets in both hands for balance. My goal is clean disclosure, without heat or spectacle. The obstacle is household image and the holiday theater. The outcome must be understanding, not humiliation or revenge. The turn will come when terms replace favors completely. I leave 3 packets at Evan's porch with a photo. The timestamp frames the court order above the summary. I send a simple text with the same attachments. Reported line states court decision and communication channel only. Reported line states support ends unless presence is mutual. Reported line states future, help follows shared planning. I place 4 packets in nearby mail slots. Neighbors deserve clarity where rumors already travel. I walk to the church hall and leave 2 packets. The coordinator manages holiday baskets for struggling families. My name will shift there from donor to volunteer. I feel the difference settle across my shoulders gently. I drive to the Veterans Clinic for the afternoon consult. The counselor reviews the order and nods once. Reported guidance encourages steady routines and measured contact. Reported guidance praises documentation and respectful boundaries. I accept the notes and add tomorrow's steps: groceries, porch checks, and a short run at dusk. I leave the clinic with steady strides and open lungs. The city looks ordinary again instead of tilted. I return home and set the binder on the bench. The workshop smells like pine dust and linseed oil. Tools hang square and silent against the pegboard. I wipe the bench and center the day's order. I file the extra copies behind a labeled clip. I place the court order in a clear front sleeve. I write an entry in the green notebook without rush. Post-hearing actions recorded with times and recipients. Family packets delivered with photos and addresses. Neighbor coverage noted and thanked for assistance. I make soup and slice bread at the counter. The spoon rests against the bowl like a compass. My breath moves deeper as heat rises from broth. Calm comes not as absence, but as structure. I carry the bowl to the front room slowly. Afternoon light warms the carpet and the armchair. I sit and let the silence expand without threat. The phone buzzes once with a new message. Evan reports receipt of the order and the packet. Reported line admits misjudgments and requests a later talk. Reported line proposes a smaller gathering after the holiday. I do not answer because tempo matters tonight. The court restored level flooring beneath everyone's feet. I will not sprint across it before it cures. I rinse dishes and dry them with a clean towel. The habit feels like an oath kept in private. My shoulders loosen, and my jaw unclenches at last. The house breathes with me like a metronome. The calendar on the fridge holds tomorrow's simple boxes. One reads groceries and one reads porch light check. One reads walk at dusk down the ridge road. I stand at the window until streetlights flicker on. Snow threatens but does not commit at this hour. A small tremble remains at the edge of the day. The doorbell camera across the street blinks once. A car idles near the corner and then pulls away. The theater may try one last curtain call soon. I note the feeling and let it pass without chase. The truth stands documented and distributed and enforceable. The room feels level again and finally breathable. The conflict core has resolved on paper and ground. A faint aftermatter still moves somewhere beyond the curb. Snow drifts past the window like ash, and the house rests easy. I wake with calmer lungs and a lighter jaw. The goal today is simple presence with clear boundaries. I eat oatmeal, clean the bowl, and check the binder. Court papers sit filed, labeled, and out of sight. I leave the binder closed because procedures can sleep. Real life asks for smaller gestures and steadier hours. I sweep the porch and salt the top step. The morning air smells like cold pine and iron. The mailbox holds a thin envelope from the clerk. Certified copies match yesterday's order without surprise or drama. I file one and keep one by the door. My phone buzzes once with a quiet message. Reported line asks if we can talk this afternoon. The name is Evan, without the old family thread. I read it twice and let my breath even. The goal for noon is a plain conversation outside. The obstacle is habit and the pull of old roles. Outcome must be a modest plan we can repeat. A turn will come if actions replace tidy promises. I reply with a time and my front porch. I shovel the walk again because movement clears static. I brew coffee and set 2 mugs to warm. Noon arrives with thin sun across the yard. Tires crunch once on the street and then stop. Footsteps approach at a measured pace without urgency. Evan stands at the gate with no entourage. His coat hangs open and his hands stay visible. He asks in reported form to sit and listen. I nod and point toward the top step. We sit with coffee and the quiet street between words. Wind lifts once and then leaves us alone. He starts with an apology shaped like a ledger. Reported lines admit exclusion and evasions across months. Reported lines describe pressure from schedules and social optics. He owns choices without reaching for a grand excuse. I do not fish for shame or extra weight. I ask 3 simple questions about next actions. Presence, planning, and respect must be specific and repeatable. I lay out terms no warmer than they need. Weekly check-in by Wednesday, not Friday when panic hits. Shared planning for holidays with seats set early. Support only where presence is mutual and named. No gatekeepers between us for messages or plans. He nods and writes the list on a card. He reads it back once without edits or spin. He asks for 1 step to start today. I choose something ordinary and easy to measure. We load my truck with pantry donations for the church. The street feels level as boxes slide into place. Doors close soft and the engine turns over. We drive in a clean silence that does not avoid. At the church hall, the coordinator logs our delivery. She assigns us to restock the cereal shelf. We carry cases from the cart to the racks. Movement builds trust faster than crafted lines ever could. We finish, sign out, and return to the truck. He says in reported form that he will cook Sunday. 2 chairs, 1 table, and no theater or audience. I agree to come if the plan holds Thursday. Conditions protect hope from wishful thinking, dressed as change. We stop by the grocery for bread and milk. At the register, he pays without a glance my way. Small, clean gestures settle deeper than speeches here. Back at my place, we stand on the porch. The light above us glows steady as late afternoon fades. He returns a garage clicker wrapped in a paper towel. I set it inside on a tray without commentary. Gifts stay tidy when they are not leveraged. He asks about the hearing order and next steps. I summarize guardrails and the channel for contact. He agrees to use it without triangulation or pressure. He offers to tell his in-laws the new terms. He leaves without hovering or circling for a blessing. The gate clicks once, and the street exhales. I sit on the top step and finish my coffee. Calm spreads not as emptiness, but as order. The house feels like it fits my shoulders again. I carry the tray inside and wash the mugs. Routines now feel like a quiet vote for tomorrow. Evening comes clear and blue across the block. I lace shoes and walk the ridge road slowly. My steps land even while porch lights wink on. A neighbor waves and asks about the storm forecast. I answer briefly and keep moving with a soft smile. Back home, I write 3 lines in the notebook. Porch talk, small plan, and 1 shared task completed. Next check-in Wednesday, no gatekeepers. Terms hold unless broken. I cook simple chili and eat by the window. The spoon taps twice and then rests against the bowl. Gratitude arrives in working clothes, not glitter or noise. Later, my phone buzzes with a photo of a calendar. Reported line shows Sunday dinner set at 6 sharp. The image includes 2 plates on a plain table. No centerpiece, no overflow, and no silent corner. I reply with a thumbs up and nothing more. Enough said is a discipline that protects trust. I set the alarm and lock the back door. The porch light stays solid through a slow count. Sleep will come because the day held shape. Tomorrow's boxes read errands, call the clinic, and jog. The court file stays closed unless someone forgets. Forgiveness stands open, bounded by terms we both named. Help belongs beside presence, not as payment for invisibility.